I'm Annie Stone.
And I'm Shawn Stone.
My dad is a pastor of a church. Born and raised into Bible stories. It's my bedtime stories. Going to church every Sunday. And did know the Lord at a young age. At 5 years old, I remember kneeling down by the bed and saying a prayer on Easter with my parents and getting my first Bible. And then really into high school, where I kind of decided that I believed in God, but I didn't know if He was quite who He said He was, and kind of put one foot in the world and one foot into what I thought was being a Christian. But it was an excuse, and it was one that Satan planted, and I readily, jumped in that boat like Jonah. That questioning really became an excuse for me to make up my own rules. Where I was miserable, I knew I needed the Lord back. Picture of Him holding on to me, these huge hands holding me, and I'm struggling to get out of His hands, desperately in the other direction, just struggling, and He let go. And just bolting out of His arms. And I remember feeling like all the air left out of the room. I fell down on my knees. I said, you've called my bluff. I can't make it without you. I can't breathe without you. There's no reason to live without you. And I decided to completely give Him my whole life and my whole heart. The Lord always speaks to me in pictures because, I don't know, they move me more. And His hands are outstretched. And He says, Annie, I died for that sin. And I just started bawling, and that was it. And grace picked me up, and I've been safely holding His hand since that point. So.
At second grade, I knew I was a sinner. I always believed in God from my youngest days and youngest age. But I knew I needed Jesus. I knew I needed a Savior. I remember giving my life to the Lord very clearly. It was at Calvary Chapel, Chino Valley. We visited. It was in second grade. But I remember raising my hand, going forward, saying the sinner's prayer, and totally full of joy. Not happiness, because I just remember just talking to my mom about how happy I was. And it was something I'd never experienced in my life. There was times in junior high and high school, like I think a lot of people, where I walked away from the Lord. My parents were going through divorce. It had a tremendous impact on me. I was the oldest of my brother and sister. And you handle things differently. And for me, it just was getting to friends, getting into drugs, girlfriends, whatever, and walking away from the Lord. But it was never a conscious decision where I didn't believe in the Lord. I remember getting to that place. It was a Wednesday night, and I came to church, and I just missed the Lord. I missed His presence. I missed worshiping. I missed just hearing His voice. that's something I think of. I missed Him. And it was never this conscious decision where I denied Him, but I just missed being with Him. I missed worshiping, spending time in His presence, being in fellowship. There's just something, about that. And I remember rededicating my life back to the Lord. I was 18 years old, and at that point, just saying, Lord, I'm yours, whatever it takes.
Called to France. Paris, but really the church is about 15 minutes south outside of Paris.
I think it started a year ago of just wanting more of the Lord. And through a series of events of just asking the Lord, to have more faith in our lives, to produce more faith, and saying to God, I'll do whatever it is you want. I'm a pastor, I teach that, I believe it, and in saying that, and I remember kind of praying that, and the Lord saying, really? Are you sure? Really, will you? And I was like, yeah, Lord, of course. But what do you mean, really? You're going to keep me here as a pastor. Live that way. If you want to be the man that I know you want to be, what I've put in your heart, my heart, you've got to trust me. You've got to be like Joshua and Caleb. You can say, yeah, but this, but that, but like Joshua and Caleb, but God. And that's what we're endeavoring to do. It's but God, no matter what.
Bread costs $7 in Paris. I'm like, it's kind of about, and gas, oh my goodness, and we're going down to one car, and there's lots of things, but even more, I think, than monetarily having to sacrifice space and, all those kinds of things, it's the spiritual atmosphere we're going to be living in. It's really, really dark. Christians are only at, are they 0.5%?
Less than 1%.
Yeah, than 1%.
There's more per capita in Saudi Arabia and Pakistan than there are.
The Muslims also there are 750 no-go zones in France, and literally Sharia law is practiced in those areas, And the government does not interfere, does not go into those areas. You're not allowed to bring the gospel into those areas. I was so worried about taking the kids from their grandparents and the family and their Christian school, and you know, they'll go to a French school where evangelical Christians are considered a cult over there, and just taking all of the blessings that the Lord has given to them, and you know, when the Lord, and then humanism, science, God is dead, the exaltation of man is the next big thing. All of Christianity is completely taken out of everything that the kids are taught. We don't realize how much the forefathers, the foundation that this country was laid upon, was really in pursuit of a relationship with God and the freedom to do that. France, their whole revolution was, in a sense...
It was, no, not in a sense, it was to get rid of God.
Yeah.
It was about humanism, it was about Notre Dame, the famous chapel. It was dedicated to the God of reason for a while, and all religion was banned.
It's an adventure, and you know, you never know what's around the corner, and you know, there's so many nominal Christians out there, and you know, Jesus is maybe a piece of their life, and their lives are boring. Their pursuits are normal and mundane. Their lives really have no lasting impact.
Not so much the destination, it's the journey. And just like Abraham left his country to go to a land he'd never seen, you know, Abraham learned to become the friend of God. And through this, we're hearing God's voice in a greater way. We're having to depend on Him in a greater way. And so, maybe selfishly, I don't know, that, you know, doesn't sound like the most spiritual thing for the others, but for us, even just knowing our Father's voice that much greater, hearing the Good Shepherd, Jesus' voice that much more frequently, only because we have to, you know. I think it's just shaking us up where we have to. So that's actually really exciting.
Au revoir.